Hi guys, right, back again today for a second sky. This time we're going to add a little bit more colour into it, and I may even add in a little bit of something in the foreground to give it a little bit of interest so you can see a picture developing. Firstly, the colours. So we're going to use 3 washes and then a grey for the clouds that we're going to enter. So the first colour we need to mix is going to be a raw sienna. Okay, so some raw sienna in there. A bit more water, not it quite watery. Have a look there at the mixture. So it should be sort of like a single cream consistency. Okay, so that's that one. The brush up. So the second colour I'm looking at is going to be a rose madder, which is a nice pink, again transparent. So it's a nice colour in there to add a bit of colour into a sky. Okay, I prefer a bit of this. Again, needs to be of like single cream consistency. Okay. And then the next colour we're going to mix is going to be the faithful cobalt blue. Okay, it's a nice colour. So you could say we've got 3 nice primary colours there. A raw sienna, rose madder and a nice cobalt blue. Okay, I'll leave that brush there. So we've got some mixes. Oh, there is one other mix we need to make, and that is the grey ready for the clouds. Now that's made up of cobalt blue with a touch of the rose madder, which makes it into sort of lilac-y blue. So it's got a bit of a warm, so that warms it up a little bit. Maybe a little bit more blue back in there, don't need purple. And then just a touch of burnt sienna, which will make it go a bit grey. There we go. So there's a nice grey colour. This is a little bit thicker because we're going to be putting some clouds in. Okay, so it's not much thicker, but just slightly thicker than the other. And there's the colours. Okay, there we go. So the first thing we're going to do, I'm going to take a sponge. Now I've taped this off here. I've got a note of all my wash colours there, and then just a little bullet point of all the stages that I'm going to do. So the first thing is I'm going to use the sponge, make sure it's clean and wet, and then we're going to wet the whole area. Okay. Now using the sponge, as I've said before, you can use brushes. Some occasions I do, but on something like this, when it's a big area, then I would use the sponge because I can feel where I've gone with the colour and pick it up and see a nice glow on there. Oh, and by the way, today we are using Archer's 300 GSM paper, rough. So this has got a little bit more of a texture on it. So, starting with the initial wash, I'm going to use the lightest colour, which is raw sienna. Now, I'm going to do different. I'm not working top down. I'm going to be working from the bottom up. So, using a number 16 brush, I'm just going to wash this colour up from the bottom. So I've got a bit of warmth in there. Now it's on a slight angle going up, but not too much. Okay. Clean the brush. Take off some of the excess there. Make sure I give it a good clean. And then I'm going to pick up the rose madder, sorry. And then we add in the rose madder. So then that goes into the raw sienna. And again, don't forget to go right off the side of your paper. Got some nice colours in there, all the way up to the top. Okay. Then we're going to pick up the cobalt blue. So from the top now, we're going to fetch the cobalt blue down. Let it mix in with the rose madder. But what we don't want it to do is mix with the raw sienna, because that way we'll end up with a green, and we don't really want green in the skies. Okay. I'm just going to add a bit touch more rose madder in there. Put it in streaks, so it's not just a flat wash. We are putting some streaky colours in there. So some of this rose madder can go into the raw sienna. Okay, so I've got some nice colours there. So that's the initial part of the sky. So now I'm going to go, well, first of all, I'll use size. I'm going down from a 16 to a 12 initially, and I'm going to pick up some of this grey. Now again, the pigments have all split, so what I'm doing is I'm giving it a really good mix. So we've got the colour there. There we go, make sure that it's all mixed in properly. Okay, so starting at the top, I'm holding my brush sort of like this, and then I'm going to sort of twist it across. Some of the clouds at the top are going to be, they're a lot thicker and fluffier, and then as you come down, they get a little bit thinner. And also just take off some of the paint as they come down. We get thinner and closer together, and obviously they get a bit lighter in colour as well. So just using the tip of the brush. So as you can see, I've taken most of the colour off, so we're just getting some little bits of the colour now. And come on down there, that's it. I'll put a little bit more up here in this corner. Put a bit there. Okay. Also, I might just pick up a little bit of the rose madder and put in a little bit of colour there as well to mix in with the grey a little bit on this side. And that's it, I'm going to leave that. So it's very similar to the sky we did yesterday, except that it's a little bit more colourful. It's got more colours in there. And as you can notice, I've actually got it on a board. My husband made this for me, so it's just a flat board with a batten attached to it there. So it's on a slight angle. I don't want too much of an angle, but it's on a slight angle. So now we've just got to let that dry before we can do the next stage, okay? Right, now that we've got this dry, perfectly dry, you can see the colours have blended in a little bit more, and we've got this nice colours, a little bit of a sunsetty colour, and they have dried. You must bear in mind when you're mixing your colours that they're going to dry about a third lighter than what they do in the palette, and also, you know, they will soften out a little bit more on the paper. So now let's just think about just to make it look a little bit like something rather than what we did just yesterday. I'm going to put a couple of hills in. So I'm going to use the grey that we used for the clouds. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make up, we've got the first initial piece here, which again all the pigments have separated, but once you mix it back up, you get your grey there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this a little bit, so I'm going to start again with the cobalt blue, add that to there, rose madder, so it's like a purpley blue. More blue actually, it's a bit too purple that. Okay, and then some burnt sienna, which turns it into a nice sort of purpley grey. So that's quite a nice strongish colour. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little bit from that into there, but now I'm going to add a little bit more blue to it, so it's actually a little bit bluer, probably just a little bit more of the rose madder in there. Okay, but then I'm going to add some more water because I want that to be fairly watery there. Okay, and then I'm going to take a little bit more of it here. Okay, keep that probably as it is. And then this one, I'm just going to add a bit more blue to it like that, a bit more rose madder again, and then the burnt sienna, sort of make it quite dark now, so add some more blue to it, so it's quite a darkish grey for the, because what we're going to do is we're going to put in a couple of hills, and we're going to try and create a little bit of distance in here. So as with the sky, we've got this aerial perspective going on, so you can see that the horizon looks like it's going away. So now what we're going to do is we're going to put some hills in to make it, and try and give them a little bit more distance. So to show something in the distance, it needs to be cooler and lighter. So therefore the lighter grey that I mixed up, and I put some more blue in it, so it's a bit more bluey grey, and it's a bit more watery. Now I'm not going to draw anything for this because I'm only going to put in a couple of hills. So the first ones are going to be very watery. So I'll put something about here. So all I'm going to do is, so they're just some little rolling hills. I'm going to pull that away in the direction of form. Okay, clean my brush. I'm going to take the excess off. And then all I'm going to do here is I'm just going to pull this away so it pulls away more or less to nothing. And I'm moving it, if you look, in the direction of form. So it's as if the hill is going that way. Okay. Clean the brush again. Take off any excess and pull it down again here. So the other thing you can see from this, it's a lighter grey, but also you'll notice that the yellow, the raw sienna from the sky is coming through. Now that's a good thing, because when you look at hills and you've got a light this bright, it will reflect on the hills. So this is what you get in the colours, because it's transparent and the colour we're putting on top now is transparent. The sky colours are actually coming through and it makes it look like you've got the reflections hitting the hills. Okay, so we'll just let that dry and then we'll go back to the second hill. Right, there we go, nothing's dry. So you can see the colours blending nice because they're made of the same colours that we've used for the sky. So we're following the colour scheme through. Now, it is important that when you're doing processes with watercolour, like we've done the sky, we did it wet in wet, but we must let that dry properly. You can use a hairdryer or just go away and have a cup of coffee and come back. But it must be completely dry before we put anything else on it. So now we've layered with one of the hills. That again has been left to dry thoroughly. So it is now dry. So now we can put another hill on top. If we'd have put one on top while it was still wet, it would have gone all muddy and blended in wrong. So you wouldn't have had, the clear cut lines of the hill. Right then, so now we're going to go in. I think actually we're just going to do one more hill. So we'll just use this darker colour. So again, I'm mixing the grey to make sure that it is all the pigments are mixed in and we've got a nice, so this is a bit darker and a bit thicker. So let's have a look. So this is going to be in the foreground. So so again, I'm following the direction of form. Okay, and then I'm just going to blend that away. Like that. So I'll go over the tape so I'll get every little piece covered in. Okay. If you want, you can just put some little, make sure you've got, so it's not just perfectly. Okay, there we go. Put a little bit of shape in there. And there we go. Okay, and then pull some down so it goes like that in the direction of form. And there you have a few little hills in there, just to give it a little bit of something other than what we're looking at. And again, you're still seeing some of this sky colour come through and putting a little bit of warmth onto the hillside, which is fine, not a problem. Okay, so let's leave it at that for now, dry it off, and let's have a look at what we've got. Right then, that's it. That's it's only a little picture, but it's finished. Let's just take the tape off. Be careful when you're taking the tape off, because if you pull it too fast, you can actually rip your paper. Now, if you feel it sticking, here's a quick tip. If you feel it sticking, always pull it away from the painting, by the way. And if you feel it sticking, just stop, get a hairdryer, blow it behind the tape, and that melts the adhesive and it just comes off quite easily. because, you know, you don't, if you've spent a long time painting, you don't want to spoil the picture by ripping the paper. Okay. I mean, ideally you can get low tack tape, so like that. Pull it away from the painting. Now, if you feel that stick there, put the hairdryer on. The hairdryer will melt the adhesive up there, and it will pull away quite easily. Okay. So there we have it. We've just got a little sort of picture of a nice sunset sky and a couple of hills in there that's giving you the feeling of distance. We've got the lighter one that's going backwards, and this one's coming forward, so that's pushing that one further back. Okay, hope you enjoyed the tutorial. An experiment, use different colours in the sky, but as I say, practice them and practice them. You will soon become competent at them. I mean, you'll still get disasters. I do. Skies are very unpredictable, but if you practice at them, you've got a good idea of where you're going with them. And colours, again, you can use and experiment with whatever colours you've got in your palette. But just remember that when you're doing skies, if you've got a yellow and a blue, if they mix, you're going to get greens, which you don't want in the sky. So always put some sort of red or orange in between, or even rather than yellow, use an orange. And you should avoid that situation. Okay, thank you for watching. I have posted a picture of a project that I've sort of in the middle of designing. So if you want to click on that and let me know what your feelings are, I can do a project very similar to that one. And there are some smaller projects coming up over the next couple of days. Okay, thank you very much, and I'll see you again tomorrow. Thank you. Bye.